Last time on Building Resilience, we explained why this story begins in the middle: coronavirus. As part of regular show production, I had traveled in early March to Minneapolis to shoot another segment of construction. By then, we were finished with the framing and exterior insulation, and we were installing windows. Specifically, we were installing the Sky Cove by Marvin.
This is an 870-pound glass box window that is really a steel frame that has to be bolted to the side of the house. It was 5 hours that went by in about 30 minutes. It was a pretty intense moment.
It was a first-of-its-kind installation for the first-of-its-kind product, maybe the coolest window seat ever.
Yeah, it was really, really fascinating and fun. Definitely a challenge to remember.
With Sky Cove safely bolted to the house and the corona outbreak in the rearview mirror, we're going to back way up to where we started and how we got here. Planning, design, and demolition. The house is a Spanish colonial, about 100 years old, that Michael and Andrea had been contemplating a remodel on.
So the project's overall scope involves taking the house from 1,700 square feet roughly to 3,500 square feet. It's going to go from 3 bedrooms to 6 bedrooms and from 1 bathroom to 4. We're going to be bringing in new plumbing fixtures, we're going to be bringing in new finishes, we're going to have indoor-outdoor spaces. We've got a cool, it's called a Sky Cove. It's like a glass box window that it's going to be out like a treehouse. It's going to be really cool. And overall, the house is just going to be a lot more livable, a lot more durable, a lot more efficient. Ultimately, it's going to be a pretty darn resilient house.
The plan involves removing a large addition to the back and some mini rooferettes, but salvaging the little bump out that houses the interior stairway.
Some of the issues we're going to be addressing on this house are the windows, which were replaced by the sound insulation program. There are a lot of airplanes that fly over the house, and they were replaced with really poor plowed sash type retrofit windows. They're all sagging and dropping. They don't work right. We also have a problem with the back of the house, which was never intended to be finished off the way that it was, and it was never designed to be an enclosed finished space. It's got the wrong size footing, it doesn't go down deep enough, and as a result, this section right here that we're looking at is slowly sinking into the ground.
Let's dig into what's going to happen, though, inside the house and go over the plans.
So this kitchen was recently remodeled. Before this project was a concept. We're going to keep it. This window, however, is going to disappear and will extend into what will be a library/art room off of the kitchen. Sometimes on these old houses we encounter new stuff that we've not seen before, and I feel like I can say it doesn't happen very often. But this is an example of one that I can't make heads or tails of what the original thought process was. So the primary home stopped just right here originally. They put this strange bump out for the staircase that goes to there. Then it jogs back for the bathroom and jogs out for the bedroom. It's not supported below the way that we would think. This element really floats out in space. So part of the project is going to be to remove not the staircase or the flow, because we want to keep that intact, but rather how the structure integrates with itself, because right now it's super whack. We have these old school radiator lines that run throughout the house, and I'm a huge fan of boilers and radiators in general. I really like heating systems that are different from cooling systems. The house is currently set with mini splits for all of the cooling needs, and then the boiler for all of the heating needs. But they're low, they stick down, so we're going to get rid of them. We're going to switch these out for a PEX style pipe that will be able to bring up into the floor joists and get them out of the way. This back wall here is the back of the original house. We can see the plumbing stack sitting right next to it. There's going to be a new bathroom that gets put in this place, and this will be the access to the addition where there's another bedroom and a workshop, because I got to have a place for my tools.
Now let's take a step back and look at the concept we named the show after, resilience. What's the bird's eye view of resilient design and construction? The Resilient Design Institute defines it this way. Resilience is the capacity to adapt to changing conditions and to maintain or regain functionality and vitality in the face of stress or disturbance. It's the capacity to bounce back after a disturbance or interruption. They list 10 principles of resilient design on their website, and we'll point these out throughout the show as we come across them.
We've always been in the green building space, at least since it existed in the early 2000s. And the focus on energy is exciting and it's fun and it's interesting, but so often we forget that houses are ultimately about spaces for people. So how can we take this house and yes, we're gonna make it more efficient, we're gonna put in better windows, all that good stuff, we're gonna wrap it in insulation, but we could just tear it down and build something new, and we could use really cheap materials, and we could lose a lot of the flavor that this house already has, or we can work with what we've got. And that's a big part of our drive to retain really most of the original structure and find a way through the addition and through the other changes that we're making to give the house a brand new look, a brand new life, while still retaining most of its original characteristics.
So let's try to sum up what we're doing before we get into how we're going to do it.
All right, so what are we doing on this project? We're tearing the stucco off the original house. We're going to put up Huber's Zip R12, which is an insulated sheeting. It's 2 inches of insulation, 1/2 inch OSB with an integrated weather-resistant barrier over that. We're going to be adding in a rain screen system from Benjamin Obdike.
Michael, are you there?
Yeah. Dan, what's up? What's going on? What's wrong?
I think it's I don't think it's Benjamin Obdike. I think it's Obdike.
Oh, Obdike.
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 Like obtuse. Obdike.
Obtuse. Obtuse.
Benjamin Obdike.
Oh.
Benjamin
Benjamin.
Obdike.
Obdike.
Obdike. Obdike.
Oblike.
Benjamin Obdike.
Benjamin. Obdike.
Obdike. Obdike. Benjamin
Obdike.
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 You did it.
Benjamin I did it. That's what I said in the first place. A rain screen system from Benjamin Obdike, so that it stays dry and breathes well. And then we're going to be putting some 3/4 inch cellular PVC panels from ASIC over the front, over all of that, to give it a really contemporary look, as well as probably the most resilient wall system and cladding system that I can think of. We're going to be replacing all of the windows in the house with triple pane windows from Marvin. And again, looking for ultimate resiliency with a fiberglass frame. It's not going to rot out on us. And the triple glazing for both sound, insulation, and condensation resistance. This house is a Spanish colonial, which is unusual for this part of the world, and it's unusual for the time period. But it has a flat roof, and it's been working for a long time. So we're going to maintain that flat roof detail, but we're going to give the house a contemporary aesthetic. The addition off the back, we're also going to put a flat roof on, but we're going to insulate the heck out of it. And we're going to leave the existing one alone. Why? Because it's full of vermiculite, which is full of asbestos. And it's a great insulator as long as you don't disturb it. So we're going to not disturb it. Every site has its unique constraints, and this one has a very unique constraint. This 240-year-old white pine is a beautiful tree. It's a highlight of the property. In the evenings you can sit out here and listen to the wind blow through the branches, and it's quite something. But it has a root structure that we want to keep intact, and we want to do our very best not to damage it, because a tree of this size, when it drops a branch, it's like it drops an entire tree. So everything that went into the design of this project really started with this first constraint of where do the tree roots go and how far can we build. We feel pretty comfortable coming right up here to the edge of this retaining wall, and we're going to come a ways into this planter bed, which again, judging from what's happening up on the tree canopy, we think we're pretty good in terms of no major roots being in this area. Now, in order to demolish this thing properly, maybe properly is the wrong word, in a way that's manageable for an urban site, we're going to start by ripping off the deck in this two-story addition, but we're going to leave the rest of the stucco on the house for the time being. Then after we've framed up this section and we're getting ready to sheet it, we'll start pulling off the stucco around the rest of the house so that we can sheet all the way around the structure. This will allow us to sheet continuously from old to new so that hopefully at the end of the day, there's no transition that's visible. It's a seamless connection between new space and old space.
And that seamless connection begins next time when Michael walks us through the warm and dry basement foundation.
And then across the entirety of the floor, we have 3 inches of insulation for R15.
That he and Steve, Saul, and Steven will frame a new addition on top of. Stay tuned and stay resilient.